Our first story is titled, Am I the a-hole for telling my parents they failed me? I, 19 female, have a strained relationship with my parents. I live with some friends while they go to college and I work full-time. I saw my parents for the first time yesterday since I moved out in June of 2019. It was awkward. I am the oldest of their 2 children. I have a little sister who is 16 now. She's special needs and has required a lot of care since she was a toddler. My parents were very good parents to her. They did everything they could to be good to her. But because I was neurotypical, I was expected to be okay with making sacrifices, missing out and becoming a caregiver. It was so hard. I didn't get birthday parties. We didn't even celebrate Christmas like other families because we had to be quiet so my celebration wouldn't upset my sister. I spent a lot of time feeling embarrassed and ashamed. I was resentful. I blamed my sister for a few years. And then I turned my anger on my parents and we would fight a lot. They didn't understand why I couldn't be more okay with not having birthday parties when I knew my sister found them too much, and they never got why I would be upset when I had to miss out on field trips, or didn't go to friends' parties, or couldn't go to a movie with kids from school. I could sometimes go to a friend's house, very occasionally, but they were never welcome at our house, and most of the time, I was expected to come home and help my mom out with my sister. I left once I was old enough to, legally. I didn't go to college for a few reasons, but I did get a job and I support myself. It's the first time I can say I have nice things since I was 5 and got a Barbie for Christmas. The estrangement was natural. They would ask me to come back and help them and I would ignore them. Then yesterday, I did decide to visit them after so many requests to come and help, and they wanted to tell me how crappy I was for not helping with my sister and helping them more since they did so much for me. I snapped. I told them they weren't good parents to me. I told them I wasn't important to them after my sister was born, that I was used to make life easier for them, but my needs or wants didn't matter. I told them my childhood sucked because they stopped trying to give me one. They wanted an adult. And I told them I deserved so much better. I stormed off and came home early. My mom left a message for me telling me I was a brat for not being more understanding. Am I the a-hole for what I said? Now let's read the top comments for this post. Not the a-hole. Your sister is their responsibility to care for, not yours. You can be supportive and friendly. You can help when and how it's convenient for you, but it's ridiculous that they expect you to revolve your entire life around being caregiver to your sister. Also, you're an adult. It's normal to have boundaries between you and your family now, especially after going through years feeling neglected and being forced into a caregiver's role. I mean, seriously? What's their plan for when they need to retire from the physical aspects of attending a special needs adult? Is their eldest daughter supposed to come back home and do it like an employee? You'd be astounded at how often that is exactly the expectation. Also, it's rather common for people with a special needs child as their first child to have a second child, solely so there will be a caretaker when they're too old. It's messed up. It's very messed up. Wow, not the a-hole. At all. I get that having a special needs child is hard, but you're absolutely right. They didn't treat you like the child you were. They treated you like an adult caregiver, and you weren't. They could have done a million things to make sure you had at least a somewhat normal childhood, and they dropped the ball every time. I mean, no parties? Why couldn't sister go stay with a relative for a few hours so you could have a freaking birthday if she got so stressed? I just blocked them. They aren't sorry for their behavior and will only continue to harass you. Or at the very least, one parent could have stayed home to care for sister and send Opie to Chuck E. Cheese's with a friend or something. Not the a-hole. Okay, so maybe they couldn't handle your sister and needed your help, although even that is not okay. But that doesn't absolve them of all blame why weren't you in school trips. Your parents should have been taking care of your sister, but they used you to help themselves. In my humble opinion, if parents couldn't handle sister, that's what social services are for, to provide assistance. Not parentifying Opie and denying Opie the experiences of growing up because it's inconvenient. That was the first story. The next one is titled, Am I the a-hole for not giving my mother money to help my stepsister who's sick after she abandoned me and my brother 10 years ago? I, 23 male, and my brother, 17 male, have been living with our grandma. My mother abandoned us after my dad died 10 years ago and remarried 2 years later. Our grandma from my dad's side took care of us. Since then, our mom has only reached out to us less than 5 times. She has 2 kids with the guy she got married to. Our grandma paid our school fees and basically took the responsibility of a guardian. I, of course, went to college and finished my education and have a decent paying job. I have my own apartment where I live with my brother. Last week, my mother reached out to us. I don't know how she knew my address. Maybe my grandma told her. But she came to my apartment. Well, it was good to catch up, but she seemed sad, like something was in her mind. So she told me that her daughter had been diagnosed with a cervical cancer and they were tight on budget and needed some money to cover her medical fee. I kindly refused. She started begging me to help, saying that she is my stepsister and I'm obligated to help. I told her that she never gave a damn about us for about 10 years. She got mad and left. She told everyone that I refused to help my own mother. And our family and even strangers are attacking me for refusing to help my stepsister. I know it's not my stepsister's fault, but I don't know how I'm obligated to help her. So guys, am I the a-hole here? Now let's read the top comments. Not the a-hole. I'm sorry about your mom, she really sucks. I think you have no more obligation to help her than you would a stranger, maybe less given she abandoned you. If she really felt bad about what she did or had changed, she wouldn't have set her family and friends after you. Next time someone says something, just look confused and say, "You know she abandoned us when we were kids after our dad died? We're not really family anymore after that." Seeing as they were at their grandmother's at the time, they probably have zero interaction with the half-siblings. Opie wrote Step, but they share the same bio mom. Step would be if they were the new dad's kids. They may as well be the children of the kid you used to know 3 doors down, but were not that close with. Sure, we knew each other 10 years ago, but we were not that close between then and now. You're not meant to chuck 13 and 7-year-old children away when you get a new man, and if you do, you lose all rights to but family when they don't want to know you in your hour of need. I'd be very surprised if a child aged 8 or younger, going by Opie's timeline of dad's death and bio mother's remarriage, has cancer of the cervix though. Yeah, that was my thought, so it probably is a stepsister, since cervical cancer for a woman under 20 is like super rare. Alternately, it's a lie and Opie's mom just needs money. Not the a-hole, you don't owe her anything. Not the a-hole, you're already helping raise her son. She's already gotten more than she deserves from you. Not the a-hole, tell her she can use the money she saved after abandoning you and your sibling. And to those people in your life who are coming to you and telling you she's your mother, etc., etc., simply reply she stopped being that the day she abandoned me when I was X years old. She didn't care about being my mother then, when I was a child and needed a mother, and I don't care now. And now for the last story. Am I the a-hole for sending my mother to prison? My mother is in prison for defrauding the government for 10 plus years, which finally caught up with her. About 2 years ago, I was subpoenaed by the court to testify and ended up being the testimonial that ultimately sent her to federal prison. She has been in prison for just over a year now. As a result, we are estranged. However, I wasn't given much of a choice because my current profession has strict legal requirements that I can't risk bending or I'll lose everything. Fast forward to this past week, my maternal grandfather passed away suddenly from complications from a stroke he had 2 months ago. Everyone is sad and devastated, and it's been hard to reconcile the loss during the pandemic. A lot of prisons will grant furlough for those who wish to attend their loved one's funeral, something we already had to do back in February when my grandmother passed away. And I was the one who filled out the paperwork and was 100% responsible for my mother during her furlough. So once I received news of my grandfather's passing, I started on the paperwork but stopped because it turned out that my grandfather is going straight to cremation without a funeral or service, because that is what my grandfather wanted. And I told my family that we weren't furloughing my mother out because of the fact that there is no service or funeral. My family understood. Fast forward to today, when my sibling calls me to thank me for furloughing our mom out. Shocked and confused, I asked the obvious, "What do you mean?" Turns out, as I discovered by calling the prison, that my aunt busted my mother out of prison and falsified documents where they forged my signature and gave my contact information, and told the prison that there was a funeral and that my mother's presence was required. 1. I live in a separate province. 2. There isn't a funeral or service. There is absolutely no reason for her to be outside of prison during a pandemic, especially when prisons are virus hotspots. So I had to call the police because if caught, I could lose my livelihood, my license, and a career I love. After all, my mother didn't want to grieve in prison and has zero regards for anyone else's health and well-being. I texted everyone in my family to encourage my aunt to send my mother back to prison, or I would have no choice but to call the police and charge my aunt with identity theft and have a warrant issued for my mother. Something I really don't want to do. However, my family is calling me an insensitive a-hole for not allowing the family to get together to grieve because I can't be there and I'm taking it out on them. So I called my aunt directly and recorded a call and told her if she didn't return my mother to prison by noon tomorrow, I would call the police and have them issue a warrant for my mother and have her charged with identity theft. Am I the a-hole for not allowing my family for using me to basically prison break my mother? Edit. No funeral. I double-checked with my grandfather's partner. Edit 2. Called police. Police confirm I will not face legal repercussions as I am a victim. And now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. Please stop giving these people chances. Call the police, report the identity theft, and let the cops go after whoever. This is not your fault, and the longer you hesitate and give chances and worry you're an a-hole, the more likely it is that this will ruin your life. Not the a-hole, but call the police/prison now and report it. Without the prison knowing what happened, what will stop them from doing something similar again and just telling everyone not to tell you? Don't risk it. I already called the prison. My questions made the admin person very, very nervous. They emailed me the furlough documents. That's how I figured it out. On the phone with the police now. Call the prison back to confirm to them what happened/is happening. They will revoke/cancel her furlough and should be able to get a warrant for her arrest in whatever jurisdiction they are in. Given the admin person I spoke to started behaving rather cagey once they realized what happened, I'm not putting a whole lot of stock in their competence now. Hey Opie, here's a question for you. Where else has your aunt stolen your identity, if this option jumped to her mind that quickly? I checked my credit report and all that stuff this afternoon. Nothing out of the ordinary. I think my mother was the ultimate mastermind, and my aunt being in a grief-induced manic state, which I recognized immediately when talking to her, just went with it. Not the a-hole, and you should turn your aunt in, regardless. She stole your identity, forged your signature, and potentially mixed your name up in a prisoner escape. No way. She should be sharing a cell with your mother. She called my bluff, so I'm on hold with the RCMP. Next time someone fraudulently uses your name to commit a crime, don't waste time bluffing. Report them immediately. Already on the phone with the police. I wanted to give the chance to do the right thing, but nope. And that's the end of the video, folks. Thanks for coming this far. As always, leave your comments and hit like and subscribe if you enjoy the content. I'll catch you in the next one. Stay safe.